Suddenly his bike light fails. Spotting a towering shadowy figure, fear grips him and he runs. He rushes inside their house only to find it empty.
The first truly terrifying moment in this entire show isn't the monster. It's a door latch sliding open by itself. And it should be completely impossible. This is a show that hides its biggest secrets in plain sight, not in the dialogue, not in the loud reveals, but in the corners of the frame. A prop on a wrist, a poster on a wall, a jingle buried under a radio signal. We went back through every season for the background details that don't just add flavor, they rewrite the whole story. Once you see them, you can't unsee them. We start with the saddest prop in the whole show, and most people never notice it's the same one. Back in the first season, Hopper's daughter Sarah wears a little blue hair tie in a flashback, moments before her illness takes hold. After she dies, Hopper takes that hair tie and wears it on his own wrist. Through the drinking, through the isolation, it never comes off. It's his grief knotted around his arm. Then watch Eleven's wrist at the Snowball as she slow dances with Mike. That same blue hair tie is on her. He just quietly handed his daughter's memory to a new daughter and let a piece of fabric do all the talking. Next, look at the walls. The kids' bedrooms aren't just nostalgia, they're loaded with warnings. In Mike's basement, there's a poster for a horror film about an alien that hides inside a human body and bursts back out. Months later, Will stands over a sink and throws up a slug from another dimension. He came back as something's host. And in Will's own room hangs a poster for a movie about a shark that hunts by scent and blood. That's exactly how the Demogorgon works. It only crosses over when blood is spilled, from a cut hand to a deliberate trap. The walls were the instruction manual the whole time. Then there's Eddie Munson's forearm. He's got a tattoo of a skeletal hand pulling puppet strings, and it's quietly doing two jobs. It's a nod to a famous metal song, the exact song Eddie plays in his last stand, shredding on a rooftop to lure the monsters away from his friends. And it's a perfect portrait of the villain himself, who never throws a punch. He sits in another dimension and pulls the strings of broken kids until they snap. The lead makeup artist confirmed the double meaning. Eddie was marked as a player in that war before we even knew there was one. Now, the games. The Palace Arcade looks like pure 1980s set dressing, but the cabinets were chosen on purpose. Dustin and Lucas spend the second season's opening fighting over who gets to rescue the princess in one game. A preview of the two of them competing all season for Max. And Max herself is introduced not by her face, but by a name on a high score board, on a game where you dig through underground tunnels to kill monsters lurking in the dirt. That's the whole season's threat, sitting in a cabinet, the tunnel system the Mind Flayer carves out under the town. The arcade wasn't background, it was a map. The games keep predicting the future. In the fourth season's opening, the group is deep in a tabletop campaign, and everything hangs on one dice roll. Dustin rolls an 11. The Dungeon Master calls it a miss, and the party takes a beating. Now watch the number, 11. The show is quietly telling you that 11, the girl, won't be enough to win this one alone. And in the real fight, that's exactly what happens. She can't beat the villain by herself. It takes the whole party hitting at once, across different worlds. Here's one you have to hear, not see. The fourth season's villain is tied to the chime of a grandfather clock. Everyone assumed that was invented for that season. It wasn't. When Will crashes his bike fleeing the monster in the very first episode, a clock chimes. When Hopper is choking in the tunnels a season later, it chimes again. When Billy gets cornered in that phone booth, there it is. Whether it was planned from day one or stitched in afterward, the effect is the same. Every tragedy in this town was being counted by the same ticking thing from the very start. And the smartest character in the show might be the science teacher. When the boys bring Mr. Clark their nervous, grief-shaped questions about other dimensions, he answers with a paper plate. He draws an acrobat who can only walk forward and back on a tightrope, and a flea that can travel underneath it. That is the literal physics of the upside down, the exact rule the kids use to understand how something tore through. He hands them the entire scientific foundation of the series while thinking he's just feeding curious students. The oracle of this whole show is a middle school teacher with a paper plate. If you're enjoying digging this deep, do us a favor and subscribe, because we go this far down on every show worth taking apart. Okay, back to it. This is where the details stop being clever and start rewriting the plot. Remember that door latch from the very start? Here's why it matters. In the first episode, as the monster closes in on Will, The chain latch on the front door slides open by itself from the outside. We read it as spooky monster magic, but the show spends years proving the Demogorgon is basically a dumb animal. It tracks by smell and rips through reality with its claws. It does not have the fine control to slide a tiny lock open, so something else opened that door. Something with abilities exactly like Eleven's. Will wasn't grabbed by a random beast. He was targeted, tracked, and taken by a psychic intelligence in the very first minute of the show, long before we ever met the mind behind it. Speaking of sounds, listen underneath the Russian transmission. When the kids intercept a secret Soviet code, there's a faint, tinny jingle buried beneath the voice, and Steve recognizes it. It's the melody from a cheap coin-operated horse ride that sits in the middle of the mall. If you can hear the mall ride, the man speaking that code isn't broadcasting from a fortified bunker hundreds of feet underground. He's standing right there on the shopping floor, in plain sight, dressed as a regular worker. The enemy hadn't just dug in beneath the town. They were walking around upstairs, next to people buying ice cream. Now the most painful piece of timing in the show. At the climax of the third season, Dustin needs a number from Susie to shut the gate, and she won't hand it over until they sing a duet. That song runs almost exactly 3 minutes, and it plays as a sweet, goofy break in the chaos. It's actually a murder weapon. Those 3 minutes are the exact delay that lets a Russian operative reach the platform, drags Hopper into a fight, and strands him on the wrong side of the machine. They also give the monster the window it needs to kill Billy. A cute love song causes the season's 2 biggest tragedies. Time was the real villain. And here's the one that flips the entire mythology. For years we assume the horror is just ancient magic. Then deep in the lab, there's a massive glowing sphere, and one character guesses it's a dark magic shield. It isn't. The records left behind reveal it's made of exotic matter, pure volatile science, and it's the thing holding the other dimension stable. So the nightmare isn't really sorcery at all. It's a disaster, manufactured by human experiments that nobody ever figured out how to switch off. The monsters get the blame, but the anchor keeping it all alive was built by people in lab coats. Some details aren't about the plot at all. They're a character's true face slipping out for half a second. Watch the chess game between young Eleven and the kind orderly in the lab. He captures her knight on a square where that move is completely illegal. You could write it off as a prop mistake, but knowing who that man really is, it's perfect. He despises rules, every one of them, and he's convinced they don't apply to him. So of course he cheats a child who doesn't even know the rules yet. It's a quiet flex of dominance. His whole twisted philosophy, hidden inside a board game years before he shows his real face. There's one more in that lab, and it quietly answers a question fans argued about for years. In a recovered memory, 2 girls play together in the Rainbow Room, 11, and another subject named Kaylee. But look at them. Kaylee is clearly years older. So why does 11 have no memory of her? The age gap is the answer. The lab was never one big nursery. Older kids with different powers were pulled out and kept apart, so the subjects could never compare notes or combine their strength. A single casting choice tells you exactly how one man kept a room full of powerful children under control for over a decade. He never let them become a family. Before the big one, a quick word on what to ignore, because the internet has invented just as much as the show ever planted. No, the finale was not a secret fake-out with a hidden true ending dropping days later. That panic ran on normal production glitches read as a grand conspiracy, and no streaming platform on Earth would bury its own flagship ending. No, Eddie Munson does not come back as a vampire. The creators confirmed his death is final, and those bat bites kill by blood loss, not by turning anyone. And no, the guidance counselor isn't a secret agent, because her necklace kind of looks like a clock. That's just seeing faces in the clouds. The villain finds his victims by reading minds, not by stealing therapy files. Real foreshadowing is built into the frame. These were built on a forum. Which brings us to the detail that recontextualizes a person's entire existence, and it's the one we can't stop thinking about. Eleven's mother, Terry Ives, sits catatonic, repeating the same broken string of words over and over. Breathe, sunflower, rainbow, 3 to the right, 4 to the left, 450. For a long time we read it as the babble of a destroyed mind. It isn't babble. When 11 walks into her mother's memories, every single word locks into place, in order. Breathe is what her sister told her as she went into labor. Sunflower is what she stared at when she woke to find the crib empty and her baby gone. Rainbow is the symbol on the door where they were holding her daughter. 3 to the right, 4 to the left is the combination of the safe where she grabbed a gun to fight her way in. And 450 is the exact voltage they used to burn her mind away. She isn't lost in madness. She's awake, trapped, reliving the worst day of her life on a loop, forever, with no way out. The most devastating horror in this whole show was never the monster. It was a mother saying 5 words that nobody bothered to hear. That's the real genius of this show. The biggest gut punches aren't shouted. They're sitting in a wrist, a poster, a jingle, a string of 5 words waiting for you to catch up. So we want to hear from you. Which one did you actually notice on your first watch? And which one did we just ruin for you? Tell us below, and we'll see you in the next one.